And hello, Game Changer Sports Network community. How are we doing this evening? And thank you so much for joining us on another Thursday night for some.
What did
I say?
What day are you on?
Oh,
what are you on?
What did I just do? You know,
it
was almost a flawless. Come on, Martin, you've done enough of these to know we are not allowed to have a flawless introduction. It must always have some type of bad mishap in it. So, of course, I mess up the days. I have my mind already to tomorrow because I want the week to already be over. But I would not, of course, want to miss Wednesdays because, as we know it here at the Game Changer Sports Network, Wednesdays are for wrestling. And guys, I am joined with some awesome dudes. To my right, Mr. Martin Lee extraordinaire, the smartest guy in the room, even though he's a Boston fan. I let it go. And below me is Jay, our, of course, independent New Japan Pro Wrestling extraordinaire, who we're bringing back into the fold of WWE slowly. And Mike has to let everybody know that Nick's ugly. Thanks. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that, Mike. Clinton's here with us saying, what's up, everyone? Let the show begin. Absolutely. So, guys, we have a lot to cover in the short hour that we have to talk today. We're going to be basically breaking up the show a lot between the WWE Draft as well as AEW's one-year anniversary show, which I have on live. I know Jay has it on live. So just in case anything breaking news-wise happens, we can bring you the news as we're here. I know right now the looks like FTR is defending their titles against Best Friends. So that's some very, very interesting action. Will that title flip? We'll see. But I actually want to start the show talking about a little New Japan Pro Wrestling because, Martin, as you know, and as everyone here who watches us knows, Jay is our go-to guy with New Japan. Oh, my goodness gracious.
New Japan, baby!
He's a young lion in training, and of course, and that's an awesome shirt. I have the one, I just actually recently bought the one that's black.
Yes, that's a good one too.
It's a good one too. I got like the half baseball sleeve thing. You gotta love Pro Wrestling Tees. Pro Wrestling Tees, sponsor us, please. So how about so Jay, you every week have been putting out some really awesome recap articles of the G1 Climax, and I mean, listen, there's been now, they've been having shows. They were actually one of the first companies to have shows with people in attendance. And it's been going fairly well. They haven't had any real issues. So why don't you just give us a kind of a little bit of a recap of what's happened so far in the G1? Where are we at? How many weeks are left? And any major news that's come out of it?
Well, when it comes down to it, we're actually on the final week of the G1. It's the G1 final is going to be on Sunday. We've only got 2 more shows, Friday and Saturday, to lead into that final, where we're going to finally crown our finalists for Block A and Block B. Right now, I have not caught up with the show that came out this morning. They come out at 4 o'clock in the morning. So it's very difficult to keep up with. And even then, it's actually a lighter load than it's usually been, because they usually have both blocks competing on one show. Whether the A block is doing their single matches, the B block will be doing tag matches. They haven't been doing that to try to cut down on the time for the public, so they don't expose anyone. They less time that they have to take up disinfecting the ring. New Japan, all things considered, has done a fantastic job in trying to keep the public safety up. Now, as far as the actual tournament goes, it has been high-quality wrestling throughout the whole thing. That's what I love the best about the G1 season. Every match matters, and even if you win or if you don't win, it all depends on what matches you do win during the G1 that set you up on your way to Wrestle Kingdom, which happens on January 4th every year. Doesn't matter what day it's on. Right now, A block has slimmed down to 3 leaders, and that is Jay White, Kazuchika Okada, and Kota Ibushi. 3 guys that have always been in the main event, 3 guys that are going to be looking on this last day, which is going to be on Friday, to finally just get away and finally get that lead. Okada right now, out of the 3 of them, has the hardest. He has to win, and he has to have Jay White and Kota Ibushi lose for him to make it. Jay just has to win. If Jay wins, he's in the final. And Ibushi needs to win it, win his match, and have Jay White lose for him to make it into the final. As far as B block goes, now this is subject to change because I haven't watched the show this morning. The 3 guys that are right now in the top spot is Evil, Tetsuya Naito, and Sonata, which is very interesting when you think about it story-wise, since Evil used to be part of LIJ, which of course Naito founded and Sonata's part of. It right now, as far as I know, before this show came out this morning, Evil and Naito are tied with Evil having the tiebreaker over them.
Okay.
So we're not 100% sure who's going to be our finalist. It's all down to a close race. I would say the other very interesting news is that we have someone that might go with 0 wins the entire tournament, which hasn't happened since Hanma did it. But when Hanma did it, he ended up becoming a beloved figure. Meanwhile, the guy that's going 0-9, so what it looks like at least, I don't think it's gonna work out as well for him. But he's been doing some pretty decent matches. I mean, it's nothing horrible, but you know, he hasn't done very well.
Right.
So that's really what's going on in the G1. If you have, if you're not used to watching, you know, if you're not looking to try to watch the whole tournament or anything, some really great nights. Night 5, night 15 had some beautiful wrestling in it. Really captured the Japanese spirit in those pro wrestling shows. That take 9 hits to dish out 10. That perseverance, that get in your face, go ahead and hit me so I can hit you right back kind of spirit that really just defines Japanese pro wrestling.
No, I mean, for sure. And you write such really good, all-encompassing pieces about what's going on in those tournaments for people that, you know, are not crazy people waking up at 4 a.m. to watch them. So I want to make sure, guys, I'm throwing right now in our comment section is our wrestling archive. A lot of it is the G1 Climax reviews. Check them out. Check out what's going on. So everything that Jay just said, you can reinforce with the article, and we're going to be coming out with some new ones soon. I mean, I've always enjoyed whenever New Japan does a tournament because I think what's always cool about tournaments in wrestling is if you do them right, they're the best things about wrestling because they're the most sports feel you get when it comes to pro wrestling.
Absolutely. I agree completely.
Right. So they always, I think New Japan does the best at them. Even tournaments that aren't necessarily the most important or the ones that they don't bill as high, they always feel important. The juniors, I always thought was a really good tournament that they always give her a lot of respect to. Yep. I think that there's a plethora of more that I'm just forgetting right now. They think they do a really, really good job with them. So thank you so much, Jay. I appreciate you. So recapping that, we'll make sure we do that every time we have you on the show. Now, guys, I think we got to get to this WWE draft. Now, this is what I'm going to say before first, because I know we're all itching to say some stuff right now. Mike Rosa says, "Can I continue to say how much I love how much of a beautiful man Jay is?"
Thank you, Mike.
He's a good-looking one. He is. I mean, there's no question about it. It's Jay. Martin's right underneath him is a close second, and then below the dirt and the worms in the dirt, then there's me. So that's fine. So that's fine. And he says, my girlfriend's name in the net, by the way, she exists. I don't know about that, Mike. A lot, but I don't know about
Gary's
that.
Out on that.
But let's just say this real quick. For WWE Draft, and Jay, this was probably some of the most WWE product you've seen in a while because you kind of took a bit of a break.
Yep.
I thought the presentation alone, let's just go with the presentation,
yeah,
I thought was fairly good. It was a lot better than the WWE Superstar shakeup they did not too long ago. I thought that the way that they had it where Stephanie would go out and read names was a lot better than random names getting said or the control rooms of NBC and Fox. I thought that the presentation was actually fairly good. And I actually think this is what they should do every time they do a draft. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? And as we say that, what's going on, Brandon?
Yeah, so for what you said, the only problem I had with the presentation was Stephanie said the name way too fast. That was the one thing I had a problem with.
Okay.
About that, the presentation was amazing. I mean, it felt very sports oriented.
No, I completely agree with you. Jay, I mean, again, this is some of the most relatively new WWE product you've had a chance to check out on a full-time basis. I know you always make sure you check out highlights and stuff.
Right.
What did you think of the presentation?
Presentation, I think, was fine. I'm not going to go ahead and say it was awesome or great, but it wasn't so convoluted that you got lost in the shuffle. And sometimes, especially when it comes to these kind of things, keeping it simple is the best way to go. They have every time that Stephanie said a name, you got a little highlight, a little blip of what the person, the person who got drafted, some signature moves, achievements that they've done or have not yet done, or
right.
But at the same time, it that was good enough for me to go ahead and go, oh, okay, cool, yeah, that person's going there. Oh, all right. Yeah, presentation wise, I think they did a fine job, and they didn't go overboard with it. And that's the biggest problem with WWE. They love going overboard with some stuff.
They do.
Simplicity worked very well here.
I agree. I think that, it wasn't, like, as you just said, convoluted or hokey. It was very straightforward for the most part. And we have a couple people's opinions on the draft. Brandon's saying he thinks the draft needs to go. And Brandon, I'm going to ask you to maybe expound upon that. Tell us why you think the draft needs to go. Mike Rose is saying, I really like the way they did it. And I also like the draft pool idea. It makes sense. So not all top people get drafted first. I actually really like that idea because, again, it's realistic. I was very surprised at how they were doing it, where just hours before the first draft episode, here's the draft pool. Here's all the eligible people that could go. And it doesn't make it that you had, I think not the shakeup, but the previous draft, the first big draft that they had in the expansion, where the first 5 people were all huge names. Right. This time you can have a bit of a varied, amount of people, because then it made no sense as the show went on that lesser, higher people started getting picked. They're competing for Apollo Crews, or they're competing for names that doesn't really seem like a main event name to be fighting for. So that's the good.
Yes.
Now let's get to the not so good. And maybe before, to get that there, a perfect thing that's brought up here, Clinton brings it up. The tag title situation, what the hell just happened? I thought this was a draft, not a grocery store giveaway. So for anybody who's watching the draft, they know that the Street Profits, who were the Raw Tag Team Champions, went to SmackDown, and the SmackDown Tag Team Champions, which was Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, switched brands, so they switched titles. Thoughts on that? Martin, I want you to go first.
I don't really have a big problem with that, to be honest, because it makes sense, because they probably were going to SmackDown and knew they were going to Raw, and they both have, and the Three Powers had the red titles and the Studios had the blue titles, so it makes sense to just swap them over.
I mean, so it does seem to make sense. I mean, it works out perfectly, obviously, because this is all scripted, that the champions from both shows switch sides. I mean, and I think Mike Rosa agrees with you. Makes sense to me. I don't understand the problem. I think it makes total sense. But it did feel a little bit hokey. I'll give you that. It was like them standing there, and it kind of did like that bomb expert, hostage situation where they do the quick switcheroo. I thought they could have done that in a lot better way. And I don't know what your feelings, Jay, but I feel like you're almost going in the same direction as me.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Hey, you guys are champions. You guys are champions. You got the SmackDown. You've got the Raw tag titles. Just swap them. But at the same time, I think it could have been presented better. And at the same time, I think we all might agree with this. Perfect time to unify them.
So, I mean, that was the conversation we had last week about, do you unify the tag team titles? Right. And, I mean, that could have been an argument. What if you had said at Hell in a Cell, hold on, guys, don't switch. Hell in a Cell, we're going to unify these titles. Especially now that it's not that the two brands are touring independent of one another. Right. They are, SmackDown's not going one way and Raw going the other. They're in the same building. So, yeah. That definitely could have been done. They still obviously want to keep both titles separate. Now, I think what would be also helpful is let's go over each brand and who they got. Because everybody got picked. For the most part, there's a couple of names that did not get picked, but let's go over who was drafted. I'll start with Monday Night Raw. So Monday Night Raw got Drew McIntyre, the WWE champion, Bobby Lashley, the US champion, R-Truth, the 24/7 champion, which is weird because the 24/7 title, again, is a title that should be able to defend it anywhere, anytime, but here we are. AJ Styles, huge pickup for them. The Fiend, huge pickup for them. Randy Orton, Braun Strowman, Matt Riddle, Jeff Hardy, Keith Lee, Ricochet, Elias, who's now back, Sheamus, Angel Garza, Humberto Carrillo, Drew Gulak, Tucker, Titus O'Neil, Akira Tozawa, Riddick Moss, Arturo Ruas, and Eric.
Alexa Bliss? Did you just Alexa Bliss?
So that was only the men. I just went to first.
Then never mind.
Yeah, so it's I'll bring it down. So real quick with the singles, and that was the singles men, by the way. Those are not tag teams. One of the biggest things I think that was the weirdest was Tucker. I mean, Tucker. They decided to break up Heavy Machinery. They bring over Tucker to Raw. I have to tell you guys, I didn't give a flying you-know-what about Tucker before when he was with Otis. I really don't give a you-know-what about Tucker now that he's by himself. I don't know. I don't know. I have a real weird vibe with that. I feel like at some point we're going to get a future endeavor post from WWE. Unless Tucker has a ton of talent that we're just not seeing, I don't know how he's going to survive by himself. Martin, what do you think about them splitting up Heavy Machinery?
All right, so first off, with Heavy Machinery, it did not make any sense to me because Otis and Tucker, they work so well together. But then you put Tucker on Raw and keep Otis on SmackDown. I don't know what to say about that one because I don't know if he is somebody going to be good a singles guy. It's not like the New Day when Big E had to go on when it was time for Big E to get singles push. No, it's not like that at all. This is a team where they were not where there weren't a guy that was extremely popular with the fans and like extremely out there like there was with Big E. So I don't know how they're gonna work out on separate brands.
I don't know either. I mean, I think that as strong of a character as Otis is, he's always been someone up to this point who needs a supporting character. If it wasn't Tucker, it was Mandy Rose. And now he's going to, he is Mr. Money in the Bank. By the way, reminding everybody, he is Mr. Money in the Bank. I forget almost every week that he's Mr. Money in the Bank. Yeah. Mike Rosa here saying that Tucker's going to get future endeavored at some point. And listen, I hope not. I hope that this is a big, a ruse that this guy's actually really great and they have plans for him. That'd be cool. I just don't see it. Jay, what were your thoughts on that?
So I pray to the wrestling gods every day that they do something interesting with Otis and this Money in the Bank. And I can tell you one thing that is not interesting, and that's watching him read a book, trying to get these legal matters down. What would be interesting is you want to go ahead and kind of revitalize Heavy Machinery. Here's what you do. You send Tucker to be by himself over onto Raw. He goes ahead and finds a new tag team partner. He carries the team, though. Tucker's suddenly kind of the face of this new team. They're making their way through the tag team division. He and this, whoever it is, maybe Drew McIntyre, Drew Gulak or something like that, maybe he makes his way through and ends up winning the tag team titles. Otis comes back and challenges Drew for that half of the tag team titles, and we get a reunited Heavy Machinery tag team champions. That would be fun. You've got now you go, okay, so Tucker is his own person, but he's back with Otis, and now you've got a new vision on Heavy Machinery. They've gone their separate ways. They've done some successful stuff. Now they're back together. And you don't have to make Otis a world champion, who you forget even has Money in the Bank. It's an out. And it would be hilarious. And that is what this team is all about. So personally, I think, but if that's not the story they're going for, sorry, Tucker, I don't see them keeping you. Not as a strong singles competitor, at least.
No, definitely not. Now, real quick, just to give you guys a little bit of breaking news, FTR was able to successfully defend their tag team championships against Best Friends, and now Miro is going in there and just beating up the remains of those guys with Kip Sabian. So there you go. That's what's going on in AEW land. I thought even something that could have been interesting is, when they announced that Tucker was going to go to Raw, you see they had this very nice moment where they were sad that Tucker was going. Why not have Tucker do something crazy, like get pissed? Why doesn't Tucker go up to Owens and say, dude, you didn't lobby for me to stay on SmackDown? We're a tag team. How do you not make sure we stay together? You're the one who's Mr. Money in the Bank. You have the pull. You're sending me there by myself. You know what, man? I've been figuratively and literally in your shadow forever, and I'm tired of it. Everyone talks about you. They don't talk about me, and you've now proven to me you're a selfish friend. I'm going to go on to Raw, and I'm going to go make something of myself. And maybe that thing is getting together with a Riddick Moss or a Drew Gulak and saying, we're going to be a top tag team because I'm going to show you guys that it was that guy's fault that I wasn't a tag team champion. Something like that. Something to give it some layer of interest and character. He's got no character. Nothing.
He's so bland. He's so bland.
He's Otis's right-hand man.
Bland. Now, guys, also, just we're saying we're about 22 minutes in. I know this is going to be an overtime show, so just get ready, okay? We got a lot to talk about here. We got AEW. We got a lot to talk about, so strap in, okay? What did he say? Strap in or strap on? All right, let's move on. So that's Tucker. I hope the best for him. I just don't know what they're going to do with him because he has no character. He's just heavy machinery. We'll have to see what happens there. Now I want to get to the biggest names I think that went over: The Fiend leaving SmackDown, huge. Braun Strowman, who is already kind of a member of Raw Underground. Matt Riddle, who I think is really going to help that mid-card. Jeff Hardy, because I think you think about what did the draft have to accomplish? It had to help Raw be more entertaining. It had to make SmackDown feel more legitimate. And I think that the biggest blemish in Raw was its lower upper card and its mid card were gaping holes. There was no interest in the U.S. Championship. There's no interest in the Tag Team Championship, and quite frankly, the top contenders pool of people is thin. So you brought in some people that you can interchange. You have an AJ Styles who can be a U.S. champion, but also be a contender for Drew McIntyre. Drew Gulak could be someone who joins up with someone, does a tag team run. So I think in that regards, Raw did very good. What's a surprise? I mean, was there anybody who you were surprised with who was able to jump into Raw, who they pulled? What do you guys think? I'll throw it to Martin first.
It's hard to say, but it's hard to say right now because a lot of these picks make a lot of sense right now.
Yes, they do. I completely agree with you. Jay, is there anybody who you were surprised went from SmackDown to Raw?
I would say the only reason I'm surprised is because of the order of the draft. I'm surprised that The Fiend went to Raw.
Okay.
Because personally, I would have loved to see The Fiend fight against Seth Rollins to see the change in Rollins. If he rolls back that Messiah character or whatnot, just to see what would happen there, whether he would go back to more when he was wearing a suit and tie and working with Triple H, whether he'd go all the way back to more of his Shield days and like the babyface kind of thing. It's very hard to say. I think that would have been very intriguing.
Absolutely. No, definitely would have been very interesting. Now,
So
real quick, guys, we're getting a knock real quick on the back door. Who is this? Is this a Mr. Mike Rosa trying to join us? Let's see if he can join us. Is that him?
I want to see if the internet works. I couldn't watch Jay any longer and not speak to him. That's pretty much it.
Hey, you're on the same team, brother.
Look at that. So, Mike, we're now just rolling along with Raw's picks. Real quick, let's just kind of go through this a little bit more. The men's tag team division now, by the way, the New Day is obviously there. We were just talking about them. The Hurt Business is still on Raw. The Miz and Morrison leaving SmackDown, going to Raw, Lucha House Party, and this is my biggest complaint about the draft. Retribution was formally drafted to Monday Night Raw. Now, I cannot put into words to you guys how this made me so frustrated. This, first of all, they teased that Mustafa Ali was going to get the talk, and he didn't do anything.
Nothing.
Nothing. But what in the world were they thinking, having them formally get drafted to Monday Night Raw? Mike, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. So let's hope, like I said, let's hope this internet works. First sign of, interruption, I'm just going to leave. But I don't understand it. I mean, this kind of goes into the whole thing of them earning contracts. Why would you give them contracts? They're not supposed to be a part of the group. They're not supposed to be a part of the company. I don't know. I just, the draft, I mean, I know you guys touched on it, and there were a lot of things I like. I know Jay said that he didn't like the Bray Wyatt move. I actually loved it. I think I called Bray and I called Braun. And did Sasha move, or did she stay on SmackDown?
I think she stayed on SmackDown.
Yeah, she was SmackDown. And unfortunately, her
right,
being
so
still on SmackDown.
Okay. So, but I don't understand the retribution thing. I don't. Like I said, I liked the Bray. I liked Braun. I liked Seth going on there. I kind of wish they would have maybe kept Ray and Dominic away from him just to move on. But yeah, the retribution I just didn't understand.
Definitely not. Definitely weird stuff. Martin, you were chomping at the bit when I started bringing these guys up. Tell me, what do you think about Retribution getting signed directly to Raw?
It's hard. It's just hard to keep up with them right now. Because at first I was like, okay, Mustafa Ali is the leader. It's going into a good storyline. But then you have him do absolutely nothing on Raw, and you advertised it as him going to speak, and you do nothing. Just, but then you have them. You put them on Raw, which to me does not make any sense at all. They should be on no brands. Why have they done deserve to get drafted? They did absolutely nothing. And because the WWE, they shouldn't get these guys contracts or draft them right now because they've been terrorizing this company for the past, 3 months maybe? 4 months? I forget now. But yeah, it's just hard. It's just hard with those guys right now.
It's weird because, I mean, it's again another example of WWE just trying to have controlled chaos. And when you have controlled chaos, it's not chaos. It's just part of the story. The whole mystique behind an invasionary group is that they have no rules. They have no master. They have no brand that they have to adhere to. And I feel that just is not the case with Retribution. Why is it that if they're so just against the machine, why would they listen and just stay on Raw? Why would they abide by the rules? Why would they do that? I don't know. Jay, what do you think about this whole mess?
We got the breaking news.
Martin, go ahead.
Finn Balor had surgery this past weekend.
Okay.
And over the next few weeks, according to William Regal, they will decide the fate of the NXT Championship.
So maybe what you're telling me is that there's a chance that we don't have to relinquish the championship. Just maybe, God.
Please don't.
Maybe. Because I'm telling you the curse. Because it's been cursed because first you had it. Because first you got it with Martha Ciampa, and then to Karrion Kross, and now Finn Balor. I hope it's not strike three with Finn.
I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with that. I think that I do genuinely believe they're going to try to keep the title on Finn Balor as long as humanly possible. And if Finn Balor is saying, they would have already relinquished the title if they felt like there was no chance. And he's probably saying to him, what they're probably saying to him is, listen.
Killer Cross comes back and murders him.
Go ahead. Mark.
Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong are now the number one contenders for the NXT tag titles.
Okay. Very nice. Very fun. I feel like we're abandoning NXT on this show. We shouldn't do that. Thank you for keeping us honest, Martin.
Yes, thank you.
I think that, again, if they can keep the title on Finn as long as they can, they will. They're going to probably ask him over the course of the next few weeks, how are you feeling, how you feeling, how you feeling, how you feeling? And if in 2 weeks he's still good, they keep the title on him. If they, by next week he's saying it's going to be complicated, they're not going to do it. It looks like Mike had to go. He's having connection issues. That's fine. Mike, we appreciate you being here for as long as you were. So that's that. Very cool stuff. Thank you, Martin, for that. I forgot. Now, we were with Retribution today. Thoughts on Retribution getting drafted to Raw?
Negative. Never should have happened. Never should have gotten contracts. It should have all been, obviously, it is all scripted. So you go ahead. They have contracts. They belong to a certain brand and all that. But you keep that on the DL. You don't go ahead and publicly sign them or anything like this. You let them be that chaotic entity that they need. You let them just run haywire on everything. It's them getting drafted just feels so weird, especially when they are trying to destroy that which they are part of. And not only that, but then you got to actually think about, storyboard, kayfabe wise. They took Retribution over Keith Lee, who was the next Raw draft. But you're going, yeah, those guys that come in and then just randomly beat up the guys that are on our roster. Them. Let's grab them. It doesn't make any sense. And again, it's just a weird way to try to steer this story,
It seems like it would be like I almost have this want to have the old Vince McMahon where he'd be like, I'm not, the Vince McMahon character where he'd be like, I'm not giving these guys a damn time. Who the hell do they think they are?
Right.
Just like, what? You're making these guys feel legitimate? He would try to, the storyline would be that he'd get a collection of guys and we're going to crush those Retribution guys. Yes. And then he'd go and lose. And now he's got to respect them. But they've done nothing to earn the respect of the WWE. They've done nothing to earn the respect of the brand and make people be afraid of them. That people aren't afraid of them. They're just like every other faction in WWE. Clinton makes this point coming in here saying Retribution is already dead in the water. One of the members was sent back to NXT. Now we know that Mercedes Martinez went back to NXT.
Thank goodness.
They didn't really need her. So I think it's fine. And I think that's now the NXT women's division's even better with her there. So I'm fine with that. I really don't, man. That, and Mike Rosenau also just jumped in saying, I just thought about that. If they were causing havoc on your roster, why would you want them there? It makes no sense. Really doesn't make any sense.
I mean, the only way I can really think it make it a little bit of sense is if it was the last draft pick and they were forced to take them. That is the last thing I can think of right now. And
Martin, you're a smart man, Martin. You're a smart man.
Also, Mercedes Martinez, she is glad she is back in NXT right now because she does not need Retribution. She does not need this.
No, not at all. So that's Retribution. Them women's. We got the women's division on Raw right now is Asuka, WWE Women's Champion for Monday Night Raw. Charlotte was drafted to Raw. Naomi, Alexa Bliss, she's doing awesome things with the Fiend. Lacey Evans, Nikki Cross, Peyton Royce, and Lana. The women's tag team division is they've drafted the Raw women's tag team champions, which means that's weird because the tag team titles I thought were supposed to be no brand. And Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke, who are a tag team right now. So that's Raw. I don't want to harp too much on them. We're already kind of getting close here. I agree with you, Mike. WWE, hire Martin right now. Because that would have been kind of an interesting storyline where it's like Stephanie's on the phone going, you don't want to draft these. No, don't. Okay, fine. We'll have just to stop them from causing havoc. We'll draft them at the very end because have it be that throughout the whole draft they're causing havoc, saying, "Why aren't you drafting us? We're superstars. Draft us. You have to draft us. We are superstars. We will not be undrafted." Try to make up something like that. They didn't do that. So that. Clint says, so I have a question. Is anyone going to mention Alberto Del Rio? Just curious. Yeah, Clint, I'm not going to touch that. Alberto Del Rio not even a wrestler anymore. He's dealing with legal issues, did some very not good things, bad guy. Something we've all kind of known about Alberto Del Rio, to be honest with you. Not exactly the greatest person in the world. So I'm not really going to spend a lot of time talking about him. I'll just kind of keep it there, and let's just kind of move on. So let's get over to SmackDown now. SmackDown singles men's division. This is who they drafted. It was a total of 15. Now, again, because Raw is 3 hours and SmackDown is 2, they made it that Raw has more wrestlers in it. That's just what they do. So SmackDown has drafted, excuse my God, I can't even talk. Roman Reigns, Universal Champion. Sami Zayn, Intercontinental Champion. So the main titles, main event titles, as well as the mid-card titles stayed in their brands.
Right.
Seth Rollins, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, Jey Uso, Big E. Finally, they broke up the New Day, which was a long time coming, which people thought. Aleister Black, Apollo Crews, Otis, Murphy, Kalisto. So they separated Kalisto from the rest of Lucha House Party. Lars Sullivan, King Corbin, and Shorty G. Now, I think the biggest things to come out of that are Seth Rollins, Monday Night Messiah, moves to SmackDown, along with his disciple, kind of not disciple, Murphy, along with later on Dominic and Ray, who they count as one tag team, which I thought was weird. So that's one thing. Then you also have Lars Sullivan reappearing on WWE television. So, Martin, I'll pose one question to you and a different question to Jay. Martin, what do you think about Lars Sullivan appearing back in WWE? Can they do it right this time with him?
Well, first I thought it was going to do get back, but then you see him be back in hot water again. Now he's back in hot water again.
Mm-hmm.
And
there was that Reddit that got leaked the other day of apparently he was I don't know, he was soliciting not so appropriate on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah, so not the right way to start your debut on SmackDown.
Not the best way, no, definitely not.
Not the best way, but SmackDown needs a monster heel, and I think there is some potential with Lars Sullivan. Because he has the size of a heel and he has the look, so he could be a pretty good mid-card heel if you book him right. And knowing Vince McMahon, he's gonna push him to the moon, and he's gonna push him right.
What did Adam Blompier say again? Vince McMahon likes big sweaty man. Vince McMahon likes big sweaty man. I mean, there's no one bigger and sweatier than Lars Sullivan.
Yeah, and then I heard that he does not have a lot of support in the locker room, but there's one person that supports him right now, and it's kind of obvious who that is.
So, hold on real quick here. Sidetrack from SmackDown. A very, very interesting question from my man Brandon. Will we see The Fiend and Bliss get a title or a wedding? We have not had a wedding in WWE in a long time. And historically...
We had one last Lana and Bobby Lashley.
Right. Okay, that's true. See how unmemorable that was? I totally forgot about it. So that's true. We did have Lana and Bobby Lashley. I'll put it this way. We haven't had a good wedding in a long time in WWE.
Yeah.
When they do weddings right, it's great. When they do weddings bad, it's Lana and Lashley. Because obviously they're doing this really cool storyline with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. They're what are they? Is she like a follower? Is she in love with The Fiend? Is she enamored even just with The Fiend? Is she sister? They do a point to not mention Sister Abigail.
Mm-hmm.
She's not Sister Abigail. She's Alexa Bliss. Could we see a wedding type storyline? Or do we see maybe a power couple storyline with The Fiend getting a world title and her getting the Raw Women's Championship? I'll let you answer that one.
I would prefer just a power couple kind of thing where it's just the darkness is taking over Raw. Okay, cool. They're the champions. At the same time, I watch wrestling for the wrestling. I don't want to see a wedding. But if I had to, the darkness that they could put into this wedding between The Fiend and Alexa Bliss
Oh my God.
would make it watchable.
Oh, dude, it'd be so good. You can't pretend it wouldn't be good.
It would actually be watchable
wedding?
out of everything else. You know, you don't
Yeah,
get
what do you-
charged with the flowers and everything. It'd be like dead flowers and vines and stuff
That
like
would be
that.
amazing. That would be watchable.
My first wedding, because of how young I am, was Kane and Lita's wedding, which was a disaster. If anyone remembers Kane and Lita's wedding, you know, he choke slams Matt Hardy off the stage. Trish Stratus, she shows up in a black gown because she doesn't want to marry Kane. Trish Stratus shows up in a white lingerie ball gown. It was hilarious. It was fantastic. So I definitely think if you're going to do it, I agree with you, Jay. Make it dark. Make it this sinister, evil, twisted type of wedding.
And you don't have anyone interrupt because they don't want to deal with those two. They're like,
hell no.
Is anyone going to stop this? No. Just
You got now.
I ain't going out there.
Who's the officiator though? Because I think you gotta have now. Brandon says Taker. I almost say Kane. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Mordecai?
Mordecai. I mean, just got it. Oh my God, Vampiro. I don't know. You could do a lot of things with that.
Absolutely.
So that would be some crazy stuff. Oh my God.
The whole brood as the throwing flower petals down the entrance ramp.
Well,
Jesus.
going well there. Why don't Paul Bearer?
Paul Bearer, if he was alive, yes, Paul Bearer would be phenomenal.
That'd be amazing.
If he was.
If he was alive, that would have been a lot of fun stuff there. Brandon's agreeing with me, saying Kane would be good. Vince McMahon, even as just being confused, like, what the hell's going on? Just Vince McMahon's state of confusion and just general anger about what's happening would just be wonderful too. So WWE, if you're gonna give us a wedding, give us the Fiend and Alexa Bliss.
Give us a dark one.
If you don't have to give us a wedding, then don't make it a power couple, please. So again, now going back over to SmackDown for a second, I agree. Lars Sullivan has a lot of potential. He has the look, but I don't know what they're going to do with him, especially if he's in hot water again. We now know again because of who got picked that the Seth Rollins, Buddy Murphy, Mysterio family thing is going to continue. For the women, Bayley was selected again. You know, she's a SmackDown Women's Champion. So they made sure they picked her. Bianca Belair, Carmella, Natalya, Zelina Vega, getting her separate from Andrade. We'll get to Andrade in a minute. Billie Kay, Tamina, and Sasha Banks. Now, we talked last week about how we really all felt this was a prime chance to separate Sasha and Bayley for good for a while so that you can get them away from each other. A great friend of ours, Dean Yates, who comments all the time, was saying you can now have it that Sasha has to build herself up again. Maybe she wins the Rumble and then challenges Bayley at WrestleMania. They're back on the same brand. Obviously, they're going to continue the feud with them. What are our thoughts on that? Jay, I'll let you go first. I just feel such a rave of disappointment about that.
We're gonna get this match over at Hell in a Cell between the two, and then what? I mean, these two can wrestle forever, for all I care. But I want it to bubble up to mean something. Right. You know, watching them go and go and go and go and go, it gets exhausting. It really does. Almost any storyboard is going to get, you know, absolutely beaten down into the dirt if you're constantly just having to force to look at it.
Right.
It needs time to sit on that back burner to bubble up nice and slowly. This is a boiled dinner. This is your dad's chili that's supposed to take 8 hours to cook. You know, this is not something that you just want to go, you know what? We got two great stars. We're just going to throw them into the match. And then it won't be 100% done. Then we'll just continue having them, you know, face off, you know, maybe every other pay-per-view. Let it sit. Let it sit and give us the match we want. You know, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Long-term story booking just tickles me pink, and that's what I want.
it's one of those things, because you just made the point of the next pay-per-view for WWE is Hell in a Cell. We have 3 confirmed matches for it. Roman Reigns taking on Jey Uso in an I Quit match for the Universal Championship.
In a cell.
In a cell. That's true. It's in a cell. Hell in a Cell I Quit match. Kind of weird, but okay.
Don't love it.
We'll cover those later on. Drew McIntyre taking on Randy Orton in Hell in a Cell, and Sasha and Bayley in Hell in a Cell. Now, those two have been in Hell in a Cell before, and I mean, Sasha was in the first Hell in a Cell, literally almost died in the first Hell in a Cell. Yeah. So we know that they can wrestle in it. It's not the problem about that. And to your point, Jay, it's not that these, oh, God, it's not like the Randy Orton and Cena matches where, like, they got so formulaic. It's like, no, we know they can wrestle well, but give us a good story. Don't burn us out, because then when they have their match at Mania or they have their match at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, let it mean something then. Right. Because the Cell seems like such a final thing. It's not even a cage match, because steel cage matches you can escape from. Ladder matches you can score cheap wins. Matches like that where you have to, you just by the skin of your teeth are able to pull out a victory. Last woman standing even. She just gets herself up in time. This Hell in a Cell is a final, brutal, beatdown type of match, and it just
supposedly, that's what it's supposed to be.
Exactly, that's what it always was. It was always. It was these two guys hate each other so much. We have no choice. Put them in Hell in a Cell. We got to end this thing now. So they're going to use this as a catapult to more matches. I don't like that. I guess what they could do is have Sasha get really badly busted. I mean, if you're gonna do this, I hope I'm not killing Sasha here. Have Bayley throw her off the top of the cell.
Ooh.
Have her throw her off the top of the cell. Sasha will sell that like Shawn Michaels mixed with Dolph Ziggler mixed with the Young Bucks mixed with everybody combined. And then have it that she's gone for a while and still do the storyline with her returning at the Rumble or something. But otherwise, if it's just a clean win and they're both around the next week, I'm not crazy about it. Martin, your thoughts on Sasha and Bayley being on the same brand?
All right, so first off, I got something on AEW, but I'll wait till we get to the AEW.
Okay, sure.
But in a second, Sasha and Bayley. I just want them to be separated 100% right now because you want long-term storyline booking with those two. And I had a problem with Sasha coming back so quickly. Here's what they should have done. After Bayley turned on Sasha, they should have just had her stay on the sidelines until the Royal Rumble. And because the most likely they're going to have fans there, and wait till she is number 30 and have her come out at number 30, and there's your WrestleMania plan right there. But you don't do that, and you have them in Hell in a Cell. And like you said, Hell in a Cell should be the last match, final. But no, this is not the last match they're going to have. Because right there anyway, they're gonna milk this until WrestleMania. They're gonna find way to milk this to WrestleMania, and they should have just put them apart. Have Sasha on SmackDown, have Bayley on Raw. It's starting to get a little old right now.
And I think also something that should also be said that we're missing here is, what about the other women on SmackDown?
You don't
completely. Who cares?
You don't matter.
They don't matter. What do you say to the Bianca Belair? You have nothing for her. Natalya, Zelina Vega, Billie Kay, Tamina, Carmella. I mean, are we serious? And they have one women's tag team. They have the Riot Squad. They're still together on SmackDown. They got drafted together. But the tag team champions are on Raw. So what are we going to do?
What's the point with that one division? I mean, you have, like you said, you have some talented people there. Like Carmella, like Bianca Belair. You have some Zelina Vega. Why not have them have some storyline? But no, you have to keep with Sasha and Bailey. And why? Just why? Have them separated or have Sasha thrown over the top of the cell, a hell in a cell, but no WWE, this is gonna be a clean finish, and they're gonna go over and over and over again. And next
They're
week,
going to be the center of the women's scene on SmackDown, and it's going to get boring. Jay, do you have any more thoughts on this before we move on, or you feel like
The only other thing that I have is even if it's not a clean finish, they're going to go on and on and on with this, and it's Hell in a Cell. It's supposed to be final.
I agree, or at least for a while, putting someone on a shelf.
Right.
Something.
I mean, there are a few stipulations that have that. You know, you got your last man standings, you've got your Hell in a Cells, and as far as singles go,
Right.
singles feuds go, and really those are the kind of the two big ones.
Mm.
But the fact that you know it's going to keep going,
Yep.
it's frustrating to watch.
Very, 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 very frustrating, Z. And I feel frustrated for the women who are on SmackDown, who are just going to have no time. No time. Who cares? They're going to do nothing with you. To the women on SmackDown who got drafted last week, I'm sorry. They're not going to do anything with you.
Y'all are going to just face each other, 50-50 booking.
Exactly. You're going to be used to put over Bailey and Sasha, and that's going to be it. And everything else you do doesn't matter. Then again, that's been Tamina's whole career, but that's besides the point. Ooh, okay. I move on.
The only person I can see being involved is Bianca Belair because her husband went to Street Profits. So I can see her being with them. Anybody else? I don't know.
But again, then what does she do? Okay, she's the valet for the Street Profits. Okay. That's it? That's all.
More.
Belair, arguably one of the most talented women out of NXT? Really? Okay.
You need more from her, but you get so much more from them, but no WWE. They're going to have it just be valet and just have everybody else in the background and have it be the Sasha and Bailey show all the time.
Yep, so that's rough. Now, something we should mention, guys, here, we should know the names of people who were undrafted. So now, as Mike brought up to our attention and we've been mentioning here, there were pools of people who were eligible to be drafted on both nights of the draft. There are two people who were in the draft pools who were not drafted. Do you guys know who they were, or can you guess who they were?
Mickie James?
Yes, sir.
Andrade.
And Andrade, that is correct. Andrade and Mickie James have not been selected. And we know it's not that Andrade's injured or something because he was just
I heard something today that Andrade is having surgery.
Oh, he's having surgery.
Yeah, he's having some minor surgery, and that's why he hasn't been drafted yet.
Okay, so that makes a little bit of sense.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting some minor surgery. They want to take him off TV for a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of months, and then he can get back into it, get signed by anybody because everyone knows Vince loves Andrade. Okay, so that makes a little sense because I was very confused by that.
Yeah, put him on Raw because Vince wants to keep the couples together, so
right.
he's most likely going to be on Raw.
Right. But now, well, Zelina's actually with Aleister Black. That's why she went to SmackDown.
Yeah, and Andrade is engaged.
Right.
Yes, she's engaged to Charlotte, so just put him on Raw.
Okay, so that's fine with that. And again, guys, I want to thank all of you who are staying with us almost for our full hour right now. For everyone who's following us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitch. If you haven't followed us on Twitch, guys, get over to Twitch, official_GCSN. Again, official_GCSN. It's scrolling on the bottom here the whole night. But we are going to go over, because we're just wrapping up the draft, and then we're going to talk a little AEW. That's going to go on for a little bit. So appreciate you guys hanging on. I appreciate Martin and Jay sacrificing their time to stay on and get us a full show here. I love it. But now, Martin, as you were saying, I didn't mean to interrupt you before.
Yeah, Charlotte was talking about so when Andrade first tweeted out something about saying goodbye or something, and when he first tweeted that, the internet was going ballistic. Like, is he gonna get cut? Is he gonna get released? No. After that, Charlotte Flair commented on the tweet saying that he was saying goodbye to Zelina Vega, and he was hinting that he might need a new manager.
But I don't. That's weird because who would it be?
Charlotte, maybe?
But Charlotte's her own woman.
Yeah.
Charlotte's always been her own woman. I can't imagine they would relegate her unless she's not wrestling anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, that's the only reason why. That could be the only reason why I would think that.
Right. That or they're going to really make them a power couple. Unless WWE's just loving this power couple thing because it's going so well with Gargano and Candice LeRae, because it seems to be going well with The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. Maybe they're like, hey, let's have another power couple, Andrade and Charlotte. Come on, that'd be great. Really, it'd be one of the first times that a couple, the woman, Charlotte, is giving the rub to Andrade. Because Charlotte, if you look in their respective divisions, Charlotte is way more respected, way higher. Let's put it this way. Of that couple, one of those people's main evented WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that would actually help Andrade, if anything. Jay, your thoughts?
I mean, it's true. I personally, I don't love managers. I just find them. It's very gimmicky. It's just
in general, or just like the valet,
the valet, the manager. I mean, there are some people that can pull it off beautifully. Paul Heyman, everything like that.
Rick Lee, is that your dad?
Yes, it is.
Oh, Mister.
Hey,
you raised an amazing son. He's awesome. The smartest guy on the team as always. So appreciate you. And Martin is embarrassed, which makes me happy. So thank you, sir. Go ahead, Jay.
I've never been a huge fan of valets, managers, or anything like that. It can be done very well, but sometimes just doing it for the sake of doing it, I don't love it. But in this case, Charlotte giving Andrade the rub kind of works out for me. I like that. And not only that, but now you got, as we said, Gargano and thank you. We got The Fiend and Alexa Bliss. All right, maybe we can start getting some intergender matches again. The way that WWE was doing it shakes things up at least, so we're not seeing the same. That could work, but really, when it comes down to it, I'm not upset about that. Andrade, hopefully, once he's recovered from his surgeries and nice and healthy, he'll come back in his own time. I hope that it is explosive when they do.
Yes.
Because I love a good debut or a re-debut. And that's what you want to see. It's a feel-good moment.
And he's too talented to not be used by everything. I mean, everyone knows how good he is. So that's that. Of the other people who are, then there's Mickie James, who, if Jake was here, he'd be screaming at the top of his lungs saying it's because of her husband, it's because of WWE's pettiness. And normally I'm the guy who says, nah, come on, Jake. I don't know.
Reel it in, Jake.
Because I'm sorry. It makes no sense. Why wouldn't you have Mickie James get drafted? There's no other reason. It's no other reason than to make her feel terrible for what her husband said. They've been putting Lana through tables. I feel like Nia and Shayna are like the Dudley boys right now, just putting Lana through a table every week. And now this with Mickie James. I think that's more disrespectful because at least Lana's on TV. At least she's getting a spot every week. You just basically told Mickie James we're not going to use you for anything. We're going to have you lose, and then you're going to do nothing.
Yeah.
That sucks. She's so good. She's such a help. She's such a leader in that women's locker room. It's so not fair to do that to her. So real shame on WWE. Unless there's a major storyline plan that I just don't see happening, then great. But I don't think that's going to happen. She's just, her age, where she is. I don't think they're building any major stories around Mickie James. Of the people who were undrafted, and these are people who are technically under WWE contracts, even though mainly, they don't really do anything much. Becky Lynch. So these are people who are not even in draft pools at all. Becky Lynch, obviously we know that she's pregnant or she's about to have the baby and stuff. Jimmy Uso, injured. Ivar, who's injured, I believe it. Right, Martin?
Yes.
He's injured.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Sonya Deville, who's taking her time off. Edge, who's injured, but we know is eventually going to come back.
Mhm.
Jinder Mahal, who, again, was just about to come back, got injured again. Samoa Joe, who people thought may have been involved in the draft pool, wasn't. Mojo Riley, the Forgotten Sons.
We ain't going to see them for a while. We are going to see them.
Nope. Bo Dallas, not involved. And then the rest of these guys are the part-timers. Big Show, John Cena, Bill Goldberg, The Undertaker, and Ronda Rousey was not involved in the draft either. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if Ronda Rousey's ever going to wrestle again, but we'll have to see. So with that all said, I think let's give a final grade to both Raw and SmackDown. We're going to do 3 grades: how Raw did in the draft, how SmackDown did in the draft, and how WWE overall did the draft. Raw, I think, is the clear winner. I think that they get, if we're going with C is average, not necessarily bad, just average. I think Raw had a B for the draft. I think they got a lot of people that they need. I think Raw is the big winner. They needed a reshape up. They needed to feel special again. They needed to feel like must-see TV. And with the people they have on Raw right now, they do. So Raw gets the B there. I think SmackDown gets a C. They lost a lot to me. And what they've gained is kind of some weird, I think the loss of The Fiend was huge. A real big shot to SmackDown. One of the special things that made SmackDown interesting to watch. You lost the New Day, who's been a SmackDown team for a while now. You lost AJ Styles, the guy who built SmackDown, the house that AJ Styles built.
Mhm.
Matt Riddle, who debuted and won his first title on SmackDown. Weird. And what they
Wait a second. He didn't win a title?
Didn't he win I thought he won the Intercontinental title.
No.
Oh, no, he never won it. Okay, so I'm wrong. He fought for the Intercontinental title. I remember that. So they they lost a lot. What they gained was Seth Rollins and a weird Dominic Mysterio kind of feud. So I give them a C. Overall, I thought WWE did a C job on this draft, and the biggest thing that doesn't make it a B for me is Retribution. I think that it's very hard for me to get over them drafting Retribution the way they did it. I thought it was weird. It was disrespectful to our minds. And I just think that they're three bad booking decisions away from Retribution being a non-factor on WWE television. Jay, I'll let you go. Who do you think won? Who do you think lost?
Raw was the obvious winner.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down, easy. I agree with you completely. I'd give it a B.
Mm-hmm.
I'd even go as far as saying B+, but the Retribution one cuts it back to a B.
Uh-huh.
They got a lot of talent. Not only that, but they got a lot of talent that's still just in the mix. You got them free, and you can add them, plug and play them wherever you want.
Mm-hmm.
The Fiend, he's coming over. What's he going to do? Nobody knows. That's awesome. AJ Styles, he's coming over. What's he going to do? Nobody knows.
Mm-hmm.
SmackDown gets a D.
Ooh,
because who'd you get? Seth Rollins. What's he going to do? Fight Rey Mysterio. Because he came over too. And you know what? We'll add oh man, I'm so horrible with these WWE names. Buddy Murphy in there too.
Okay.
You just pulled over a whole feud. You already know what they're gonna do.
Right.
You've got the Sasha Bailey. Okay, awesome. But we want it to boil. We want it to simmer. And we just want it to take the back burner for now. All right. You got Lars Sullivan. I don't love it. I absolutely hate how the commentary team is. You've never seen a guy this big and this athletic, and all he's doing is running into people and throwing them around. It's like
many times.
If he does a moonsault, I will go ahead and agree with you.
Right.
You've never seen a man like this before. You literally have Keith Lee on your roster.
I've seen 20 people do what he does and do it better, but that's besides the point. Go ahead.
Right. So it's like, okay. I would have personally, a win for me over Lars Sullivan would have been Elias, because he at least engages the crowd. Sure, there's not a crowd there right now, but he's engaging. I want to see Elias do stuff and be successful. That's better than getting this Lars Sullivan stuff forced down my throat. So I would give SmackDown overall D. All you did was bring over feuds that were already going.
Yep.
And it's just it doesn't feel like a draft at that point. It feels like, you know what, we don't have actual plans. Just bring over the whole thing. So overall, I would give WWE as a whole this a C. Presentation was fine. Again, that's exactly what it should have been.
Mm-hmm.
They could have done so much more if they were going to sign Retribution. That should have been a storyboard throughout the whole draft.
Right. And
then just some of the, the way that they make both these teams, both the brands think. Oh yeah, let's grab Retribution before we grab Keith Lee. It just didn't feel
Wouldn't
right.
it be interesting if she goes up there to do one and it's like Retribution and the card is has been spray painted with Retribution on it, and all the cards say Retribution because they're furious they aren't getting picked. Something kind of
something. Just give us something. We didn't need much, but a little something to go off of.
Right. Martin, what are your thoughts on the draft? You don't even have to give it a grade if you don't want to. Just who won, who lost, overall thoughts on the draft.
Who won? Definitely Monday Raw. Because Monday Raw, they drastically improved the men card with Matt Riddle, Jeff Hardy, and AJ Styles. He put 3 amazing talent on the men card. And
who all can go with the upper card too, just saying.
Top
talent.
talent.
Can all be upper card right. Yeah, right. Yeah, that one. Yeah, and you don't know where they're going to put them, but that's the exciting part. Where do you put them? Very Raw can mix and match anywhere they want. And they also drastically improved that tag team division as well because yes, Street Profits are a good tag team, but you're talking about the New Day here. The New Day.
Absolutely.
A team.
Even Morrison as well.
I'm going to get there in a minute. The New Day. One of the most popular tag teams that WWE had in a long time. They are now on Raw and they can freshen things up in the tag team division. But not only did they get the New Day, they also got the Miz and John Morrison, who can also be in a big part of that tag team division. And you can do some of things here. You can do some of things with these guys. Also, they also added a lot to the women's division as well. Naomi, when she gets back, I'm not really a big fan of her. She's athletic. But what I heard, MVP was hinting that the Hurt Business might be looking to get a new member, and they're talking about Naomi. And I'd be all in for that 100% right there.
I agree.
And then he goes SmackDown. And yes, you do your style. But you placed him with Seth Rollins. But then you go get Rey and Dominic Mysterio and you have to on SmackDown. I don't know what to do here. Yeah, SmackDown has a lot of talent, but the talent that they got back, it just does not add up to the talent that they lost. And not only are they continuing Seth Rollins with Dominic and with the Mysterio family and Murphy, and they also drafted Aleister Black and Kevin Owens. So that feud is most likely going to be continuing on SmackDown. So is SmackDown now the land of feuds?
Unfinished feuds, I guess.
They picked up from Raw.
I got from Raw, which does not seem exciting to me. Raw got a lot more talent. to me, SmackDown got a lot more cycle feuds for Raw. To me, Raw gets a B minus. I would give it a B plus for Retribution. Was not good. But SmackDown, how much here? I'm giving that a D.
D.
You
guys are more brutal than me, but I think you hit all the points there, Martin, about why Raw won and why SmackDown was the loser here. At the end of the day, Raw has the talent now to be the entertainment show again, which is what they've always been, especially in their mid-card and their tag team right now. They have the potential to have a really entertaining product go on TV. I hope that they do it right. Now, guys, we're now over an hour, in almost an hour and 15 minutes. We've really stretched this. I want us to have a better and more fuller talk about AEW. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to do a quick, just the three of us here.
All right, so
thoughts on AEW. Oh, go ahead, Martin.
Yeah, so I got two things here about AEW. So the first off,
Mark, real quick. I just want to finish this point real quick. Let's just have our general thoughts about AEW 1 year in, and then next week, guys, stay with us next week. We'll go through their mid card, their championship division, their women's division, their tag team division. We'll go into a lot more in depth conversation next week about them. But let's just give our general thoughts. AEW is having its 1 year anniversary show. Let's have our general thoughts. AEW 1 year in. Martin, go ahead.
All right, so first off, I got two things. Number one, we got a world, so we got an AEW world title number one contenders tournament now.
Yes.
And the participants have been announced and the matches have been announced, which I gotta say, extremely predictable right here.
Yeah.
You got Pentagon versus Ray Phoenix, Kenny Omega versus Joey Janela, Colt Cabana versus Hangman Page, and Raw Love versus Jungle Boy.
I feel like that's a tournament designed to get Kenny Omega to face
Hangman Page. Yeah, that is just a predictable. That's just predictable. And Kenny Omega's going to most likely win. And then we got Jericho and MJF, who I'm kind of thinking, leaning towards MJF maybe join the Inner Circle. And next week, and Jericho has invited MJF out to a steak dinner, and now they're going to be talking about him possibly joining the Inner Circle.
Yes, now, and also breaking news just on AEW. We had Cody Rhodes defeated Orange Cassidy to defend his TNT television championship. So that's that.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. That really helped out a lot. So let's actually. So that I thank you, Mark, for giving us that breaking news and stuff like that. So I'll start kind of first. 1 year in, I think AEW overall has been very successful. They have great talent. They have had interesting stories. They've had great matches. Their TV presence has been fantastic. And I think that overall, they have tremendous upside of what they could do, where they could go. For them, COVID happened, just as things were looking like, oh my God, where can we go? But they have a great arena. They have a good owner. They've been very creative in what they do. So I think that overall, the feeling behind AEW is very positive for a reason, because they're good. They're not bad. Now, with that said, I want to say some of my negative points about AEW. And again, we'll go into much deeper conversation about all these things next week. I think their women's division has been very lackluster, has been almost, I can dare to say, booked badly. I think that their tag team division, while being the best stacked tag team division in pro wrestling, has been also booked kind of boring. Only in the last few months has their tag team division actually had some interest to it, and that's because FDR finally beat Kenny Omega and Hangman Page, which was something that should have happened a long time ago, and really the payoff for that was not great. So that's that. And I think that the main event scene, again, has been good. You guys know my reservations about Dean Ambrose. Jon Moxley. That's because of my feelings about Jon Moxley, him being kind of, a guy who's a better chaser than he is champion. I don't think he's a great champion. Not a bad champion, not a great one either. And my biggest complaint, and it's weird because it's their best weapon, but it's their biggest issue, in my opinion, is Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes, in my opinion, he's not Jeff Jarrett, but he is somewhere closer to Jeff Jarrett than you ever want to be. Because he has great matches. He absolutely is an awesome storyteller. I'm not saying that, but I'm afraid that they do a little too much to book the show around him. He is a little too cool. He's on a little bit too much of a pedestal, and I think that's going to lead to problems down the road. The Young Bucks not exactly always getting the best spots, which makes no sense to me because they're the best tag team in the world, and them not wanting to go over people has been a problem because they're like, guys, you're the best tag team we have. Please, for the love of God, go over someone. So, and all of that, plus I think the ranking system, especially now with what Martin just told us, has been a problem too. Because Martin just told us we're getting a tournament to decide the guy who's going to face the world champion. Well, don't we have a ranking system to decide that?
Right.
So that doesn't really make any sense. So those are my reservations about AEW. Overall, though, even with all that said, I think they've done very well. They went into a very saturated market in the U.S. especially, and I think they've done a very good job of cropping out a good section of the audience that's passionate about their brand and really passionate about their brand. They're not WWE fans that like AEW. They're AEW fans, which I think is different than most companies. So good for them in that regard. Jay, you have a lot of stuff to say too.
Well, I mean, I agree with you on most of those parts, actually. I would call it EEW at this point exceeds expectation wrestling. I don't think anyone could have actually seen. Thank you. I was thinking about that the whole time. I don't think anyone could have actually expected for a brand new company that only had this one show, which it got 10,000 people. You know, you didn't expect it to come out and be a huge success. You didn't expect it to come out and, be something that could compete at all. But at the same time, this is exactly where AEW needs to be to stay successful right now. I love the fact that it's only had 2 world champions, and I love the fact that the first one was Jericho. It's a well-known name. It was able to go, put eyes on that product. They know how to market. They know how to do just about everything that they have to do to keep AEW on the map. And they've been doing a fantastic job with it. Am I saying it's perfect? Absolutely not. As you pointed out, the ranking system, it's supposed to be story-driven. Sometimes rivalries get in the way. I mean, sure, you can use that ranking system to drive rivalries, but I think it's more of a hindrance than it is a help. Honestly, besides the major highlights, I haven't been able to keep up with AEW when you're trying to keep up with 3 other companies.
Of course.
It gets very difficult. But from what I've seen, I think earlier in the year there was a Kenny Omega Hangman Page versus the Young Bucks match.
Well, there was the match. There was that match. There was the one at Revolution, which was the 3-way with them and Lucha Brothers, right? Wasn't it Martin and them at Revolution? Wasn't that the big tag team match that earlier in the year in February?
Yes.
Yeah,
I think so.
I don't know which one I watched. I did end up watching one of the 2, and it was one of the best tag team wrestling matches I have seen in a long time. The quality of their wrestling is fantastic. Do I think that, they circle things around Cody Rhodes a little bit too much? Yes. I also find his matches to be decently bland. I have a hard time getting through his matches.
Wow. Interesting.
That's just me. That might have been, from his days in New Japan, where I just go, I got to watch this before I get to my next match. All right. But that could just be me. When it comes down to it, though, as far as the Young Bucks go, best tag team in the world, I will not disagree with that. But if they go over, people will be, well, this is exactly what we expected. If they don't go over, you got everyone else going, well, you're the best tag team in the world. What are you doing? Right. It's a lose-lose situation.
Agreed.
And it's too fine of a line to even try to keep balanced. So, but that's my thoughts overall. They're exactly where they need to be a successful promotion in America. As you said, oversaturated market, and they have been absolutely killing it.
Yeah, I think real quick, just to jump off your point, I mean, when we say compete, like I don't think they should do anything as far as moving where they are on television. Don't do Monday nights. Don't try to do Friday nights. Don't try to compete that way. They've been competing enough with NXT.
Mm-hmm.
They've won almost every single ratings war with NXT. Again, it's a little, the presentation is different. It's made to, this is Dynamite is their one show that they have. Yes, they have AEW Dark and stuff, but that's really
right.
Extras. This is and yes, Mike Rosa, it's an hour and 20. We're actually cutting it too. This is their main show. This is their Raw and SmackDown combined. So it's a bigger production. It's a bigger show than NXT. So that's why it's that way. But they are in a great spot to continue to succeed. They are. One thing is interesting is Tony Khan made a point to say one time, I want my product to be something that you can show a non-wrestling fan and you aren't embarrassed. And I think that when if I'm me, been a WWE fan, wrestling fan my whole life, it's hard sometimes where if a buddy comes over on Monday night, like, hey man, we'll talk to I'll try out this wrestling. Shows me. I'm like, I don't want to do that because you're going to see some stupid hokey crap. I show him AEW. That's a little more interesting. It's a bit different. It feels cooler. So
right.
I don't know how much longer they can keep that going, but we'll see. Clinton's saying Archer needs to beat Moxley straight up, and I'm not going to stop saying this. Hopefully, let's see. We were all talking about that last week too. Martin, real quick, tell us your thoughts on AEW.
All right, here are my thoughts. So, I'll just go quick. So, first negative, you got Cody Rhodes, I agree with the both of you, who is being booked way too much and showing the vault around him way too much. The tag team division, although it's great, outside the past few months, it's been extremely bland, and that's all thanks to Kenny Omega and Hangman Page. And the women's division, yeah, that's your biggest problem right there. You need something to put that women's division to new level that you don't have that type of talent right now, and it's gonna be tough.
No, go ahead, Martin. Sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
And also, the ranking system, yeah, I don't know about that one because the ranking system is you're supposed to have a ranking that you're supposed to have tiers of contenders for what talent they go for, and you're not using the ranking system. No. Now, onto the good part. So, as you said, AEW is doing amazing over this past year. They've done outstanding. They've done so much to make wrestling feel cool again, and I love it. And they have a diehard fan base. And Jacksonville, Florida, they put on great matches, and all around, I think AEW has been doing a great job after 1 year.
I agree with you, Martin, and
agree completely.
I really agree with you and stuff. I mean, I think that when it comes to their women's division, when Impact Wrestling is doing better than you with their women's division, who historically did not do good with their women's division, that tells you everything you need to know. And when you need to pull NWA guys to come over and give some love to them, not a problem. So that's that. Again, guys, we are going to have a much fuller discussion on AEW next.
And also,
go ahead.
The first match for Full Gear has been announced.
Oh.
It's Cody Rhodes versus Darby Allin for the TNT title.
Real quick, hold on, because I need to look at something. Because I need to look and see the rankings for I need to see the rank. No, because I have to. I have to see the rankings because Mike, I swear to God. Let's see the latest rankings.
He's so frustrated.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Darby Allin's not even in the top 5.
Wow.
He's not even in the top 5. Why is he getting a match? Oh my God, this is so stupid. Okay.
Just because he was in the rafters.
So stupid. I sit in the rafters all the time when I go to wrestling shows. Does that mean I get title matches? Cody, give me a title match. I've been going in the bleachers my whole life. Oh my God. New York Yankees, give me a bat. Let me have some batting practice. I've been sitting in the bleachers in Yankee Stadium since I was 12. God damn it.
Oh my God.
I'm done. Let's stop before I start going on tangents. Real quick, guys, again, we'll have much fuller discussions on AEW next week, and we'll really dissect this more. Thank you, everyone who stayed with us the full almost hour and a half now. You are the champions. We love you to death. Again, guys, we thank everyone who is watching us. We really hope that you follow us on all of our social media platforms. Please give some love to Circus Monkey Sports. Give some love to Whiskey Hour Podcast. And please make sure you follow us on Facebook, on Twitter, on Twitch at official_GCSN. That will really help us. Go over to Twitch and just scroll here on the bottom, official_GCSN. Oh, go ahead, Martin.
And to end the show, now we got Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae next week. NXT Halloween Havoc for wait, it's in 2 weeks.
Oh.
Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae in 2 weeks. NXT Halloween Havoc for the NXT Women's Championship.
Not mad about that. That should be cool. Again, guys, look on the bottom here. You'll see you can follow us on Twitch, official_GCSN. Make sure you follow us there. Give us a follow. And again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out everywhere at GameChangerSportsNetwork.com. With that said, this is Martin Lee. This is Jay. I'm Nick Lombardi. Get the hell out of here, guys. Have a great night. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Later, guys.